and welcome back to my small boat building project. That video that was just playing was from a few years ago, one of the most pleasant days I can remember of sailing with my family, and we were on the Norfolk Broads in the UK. We rented a boat for the day from Hunter's Yard, and Hunter's Yard is just an amazing place where they have boats that have been built and rented for about probably 100 years they've been going, and it's just an amazing thing that anyone could rent one of their boats, these beautiful historical boats, and take them out for the day on the Broads. And I was inspired to go there because of one of my favorite Arthur Ransom books called Coot Club, which takes place in that area of the world, and I'd always wanted to experience it firsthand. And it was really special. Getting to rent one of the boats, actually the only boat that was available that day was probably their smallest one, and it was the simplest one. It's called Brown Bess, and it's about 20 foot long and has a balanced lug rig. And it turned out to be the perfect boat for me and my family to take out. It was easy to handle, just one main sheet, not a lot of complicated things going on. And I was surprised at how well it pointed into the wind. It had plenty of power, and it was just really easy to tack up those narrow waterways. And those boats are really pretty special because they've sort of been designed to perfectly inhabit that type of situation where you've got narrow waterways surrounded by reeds. They have very substantial ballast in the keel, but they're also fairly shallow draft, and they have these really high, really tall rigs that are there to extend up beyond the reeds and really capture the wind as it comes across the flat landscape. And so they sail really well. And that was probably the first time that I'd ever sailed a balanced lug rig, and I was just really taken with it, and it's probably one of the reasons why I wanted to do a balanced lug rig on this Aber dinghy that we're building. So today I'm going to be showing you guys some video that I shot of my assembly of the backbone of the dinghy, and we'll be putting the keel together with the stem and the transom knee and the transom, and getting that all glued and screwed together. So let's get started. So here we have the keel, the transom, and the stem all lined up. The stem is a little bit long, so it needs to be cut down to length. So you might be able to see by the marks on the top of the stem that there's still actually a little bit of extra length on there right now. That's so that it will sit on the little support beam at the front of the construction mold. You can also see here that the stem doesn't quite fit all the way onto the keel because I cut the keel slightly long with the thought of trimming it down to the perfect length once this was in place. The bevel along the front of the stem changes all the way up, so we had to very carefully mark off where the bevel came to at each point that was specified on the plans. Here Rob is carefully beveling it down to the right size. Here Rob's using a sanding block to clean up the notch where the keel meets the transom. Alright, so I'm going to mark off onto the keel where the slot for the centerboard has to go before we get into attaching the stem head and the transom knee, so that we can work with this off of the frame here. So first thing is transfer the station line up right there. Get this going across. Yeah, okay. So the rib is going to go here. This is the station line. We have a bulkhead that is 9 millimeters. And then a 35 millimeter post that goes from there, 35 to there. And then the slot itself is 26 millimeters wide. So that would be 13 millimeters on either side of the center line. And that for a total of 26 millimeters. So now that's my width. Let's make sure it's still 26. Yep. Here's the centerboard trunk laid out, and then on top of the centerboard trunk is the centerboard itself. And lined up the pivot points. So I marked out the 35 millimeters going in from the edge there, and the same thing over on this end. So that should be the length of the slot. So now that I have the slot measured out on the actual centerboard trunk, I can bring this over here. This will go on the inside of the boat, but I'll just use the same dimensions on the outside, the bottom. So I'll line that up, the mark right there, come right along here, and theoretically that would be right about there on the other end of the slot. Down. And the keel's pretty much parallel through this section, but I just want to double check and make sure that we're still at our 26, which we are. There is the mark of the end centerboard slot. And I'm just going to pull that forward one more time. Make sure that this on this end lines up like that. It does. Unfortunately, we didn't have any footage of actually cutting the centerboard slot, but here's what we did. We drilled 2 holes with a large Forstner bit and then cut down the edges with a handheld circular saw. So this is one of those parts of the process where you really hope that you got the measurements right, because you won't find out if you did it wrong for quite a while. We decided to drill countersinks and pilot holes for the stainless steel screws that would hold the keel to the transom knee before we glued everything up, so that we knew it would be aligned properly. Once all the pieces were cut to the right shapes and sizes and everything looked good, it was time to glue everything together. We didn't realize it at the time, but this part was actually a bit of a conundrum because we had to torque down the keel and line it up with the notch in the transom in order to screw the transom into the transom knee correctly. But once we started, we realized that the drill would not fit with the keel in the way. So then we had to untie the keel and redo the epoxy up in the top part. It wasn't that big a deal, but it was a little bit of a weird situation. I actually find doing this kind of epoxy work really stressful because you don't want anything to get messed up, and I really appreciate having the pre-drilled pilot holes for the stainless steel screws to just be all ready to go and tighten everything down nicely. So that was the back half of the boat all glued and screwed together, and now it's time to do the stem. So at the beginning of the video, I mentioned a hunter's yard, and if you're interested in finding more about them, I put a little link in the description below. Otherwise, that's pretty much it for today, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Bye.